Well, look at that daily candle.
Despite gold and the markets falling today, Bitcoin continues to keep pushing higher.
If green comes back into this chart, I may re-look at taking a position. 10 a.m. is on the clock. The dollar seems down initially, gold popping a little bit, euro up, S&P up.
Well, look at that daily candle. That is just a crazy, like I said, guys, super crazy, bearish candle. You don't get much more bearish than that, first of all. And, it's at a very, important weekly level for gold. So this is the weekly chart. It's at a resistance level. Prices reacted here before, and it's reacted here again. It reeks of liquidity grabs. To me, it's just taking out stops in here, but who knows? But I cannot buy that. Yeah. So first and foremost, if we look at the weekly chart, we're in an uptrend. Okay. So we would be looking for buys, and it's the same with the day chart. As we've been in a uptrend for some time with gold as well. And we're in this uptrend, but I am just not looking to buy gold purely because of that candle. And, it just does not compute in my brain. I cannot buy that. There's so much selling pressure there. If anything, I want to see a breakdown from here, like a breakdown in structure, maybe something like this, and I would start selling gold. But yeah, it just cannot sell or cannot buy it. And, I can't sell it at the moment because we're still in an uptrend on daily and weekly. So bit of a no trade for me, really.
Want to stay up to date with all the latest trading information? In the description below, you'll find the link to join our free Discord. The Discord gives you instant access to lots of helpful material like free trading courses, chart analysis, updates about what's happening in the A1 community, as well as discount codes for our other products and services. The best part, all of this and more is 100% free. So go down in the description below this video and check it out for yourself. If you're interested in upgrading to the full VIP Discord featuring our team of expert traders signals, you can use the live chat link in the description to get connected with one of our team members in seconds. So don't wait, go check out the free Discord today.
Okay, fair enough. And yet to your point, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart on my end, and what you could see is that price on the open this week, it was at 2,071 an ounce. That's where it closed, somewhere approximately at the end of last week. On the open, it traded all the way up by $75, $76 an ounce, up to its new all-time high, just at like 21.49, I think, something like that. Just a crazy move, to your point, and then followed, maybe actually more impressive than the massive jump has been this move down. This is a $132 an ounce move in just about a day and a couple hours. So Frank, do you feel the same as Tom? Do you think this is a move you just stay out of the way of? What do you think on your side?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Tom pulled up the weekly chart, and on Monday, it was a very similar look of, very bearish hammer candle to the downside, and big selling pressure on that day too. I would say the next level you could look at is 2010 to like 2005. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw more selling here. I think gold, it hit a record, and now people are taking profit. And this is a bunch of not accounts, but a bunch of trades getting liquidated. People are pulling out of gold because of this, and it's not really surprising to see, just because gold had a really good run. So this was almost like a reverse capitulation, where you see a strong uptrend in the past 2 months, and then all of a sudden you see a huge buy, as in they're getting in their last orders, taking it up to as far as they can, and then like, you know, realizing that money. So gold went way above its target, and it's in just such a short amount of time that I think, yeah, there's more downside for gold, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish. But in the meantime, just, I don't know, I'm looking at gold short side, and I'm also at the same time looking at Bitcoin long side. The two kind of move together. The only thing is, Bitcoin has outpaced gold, and it has also, you know, I even looked at low time frames like 1 minute, 5 minute, watching their moves in the past couple days, and they go almost opposite of each other. You see one candle go up, gold goes down, Bitcoin goes up, gold goes down. It's just a very kind of inverse relationship to some degree. And despite gold and the markets falling today, Bitcoin continues to keep pushing higher. So I think Bitcoin, just regarding this strength, this period of consolidation with a slow trend up, and then occasional spikes, more consolidation, I think we're definitely on track here to see some test around, I want to say even like 48. Just seeing how strong this is before it hits another, you know, significant level of resistance is this top right here back in this is March 2022. Yeah, so I think on both sides of the coin, gold is not something you want to look at right now if you're trying to buy, but Bitcoin looks like a buy here. So that's kind of my opinion right now.
That's totally fair, Frank. And I want to talk about this gold move just a little bit too. To your point, Bitcoin flying high and gold tanking, which has been really interesting because in some ways people kind of find ways to compare the two. You know, almost like gold is the great grandfather of Bitcoin. Bitcoin now kind of being called like digital gold. But it's really interesting to see the contrast between the two. I mentioned earlier that I think for me, the only spot where I start looking at gold a little bit closer is that $2,000 an ounce mark. I think that this selling has been aggressive, no question. There's clearly a big sell order going on. And I think for me, my next attempt on gold may be at the 2000 level, depending on what the candles look like at a lower time frame, level for a possible bounce. Still $16 an ounce away. We'll see if it drops. I mean, on a usual day, it's rare for gold to move that many dollars an ounce, but we'll have to watch and see. Again, I think I might be trying another buy at that level if we can get it. COT data gave me a little bit of confirmation, but again, I totally understand where you guys are coming with that big wick on the top. That's a little bit sketchy. On top of that, though, I want to talk about some of the other things that are trading against the dollar. We talked about euro yesterday. Euro seems to be breaking through a support zone. Tom, what do you think about the euro against the dollar? Do you think it's due to come down further? Do you think this level could actually bounce from here? What do you think about EU?
Yeah, so there's a few dollar pairs that are in a similar position. They're almost at a point where there are daily structure breaks. And euro US dollar is one of them. I would say that hasn't broken structure yet because this wick closed back into this wick. So it'll be interesting to see what today's candle does on the back of, we've got some job lot openings and some PMI data. So it'll be interesting to see if this daily candle, does end up looking something like this. Excuse my drawing. I've been drinking. I haven't really. But yeah, if we got a bearish candle like this that broke these lows, then that is a structure change for me, and I'd be looking to sell euro US dollar. But yeah, we'll see what the news does. But there's a few like that. If we look at Aussie dollar US dollar, this is at the point of a structure break as well. If we follow this structure, it's not making higher highs. That is always a red flag for me. And coupled with the fact we get a very bearish daily reaction at those highs, So if we break this low, this Aussie dollar, US dollar is also, will be a structure break. But for me to trade these pairs, I would need to wait for the daily candle to form. And then I'll make a decision tomorrow. And pound US dollar is another one. If we get rid of this, this finds itself in a bit of consolidation here. If we get a break lower, maybe the news is the catalyst. If we get a break lower here, then potentially we have some room to the downside. And this would, this means US dollar strength, which would also mean potentially gold would come down more as well. So, they're really interesting levels. But for me, it would be more of a trade if I have one for tomorrow.
Okay, fair enough. And speaking of news, as you mentioned, Tom, thank you for bringing that up. We do have news coming out in about a minute and a half. We are getting PMI and JOLTS numbers. We'll leave the screen pulled up for me, but just so we don't miss the news. But Frank, of those two numbers, do you care about one in particular more? Again, we've got about a minute to go.
Yeah, PMI is more important. JOLTS ultimately tells you nothing, because it's never the same as what NFP is. And the amount of job openings doesn't necessarily mean the amount of jobs added to a market. So what I'm hoping for, if I am going to be bullish on the indices and gold and Bitcoin, is something, because they trade directly against the dollar, gold and Bitcoin, I'm hoping for lower PMI, because every time we see a higher PMI number, it's a sign of increased money flow and potential upside for inflation. So we don't want to see PMI, especially if we want to see Bitcoin and gold come higher. So that's what I'm hoping for now. On the flip side, if we see lower PMI, then it will be good.
Sorry to cut you off, Frank. We got just about 10 seconds here. Let's do our breaking news. All right, we are coming in here, see what the number brings us. 10 a.m. is on the clock. The dollar seems down initially, gold popping a little bit, euro up, S&P up. Let's see what the number was, if we can get it. So, okay, PMI numbers came out 52.7. Pretty close to in line with expectations, but services PMI hanging in there, still showing some expansion, whereas of course with manufacturing we saw contraction, while meanwhile we saw job openings 8.73 million compared to a 9.31 million. Of course, the theme of this week is a lot of jobs numbers, so despite JOLTS maybe not being super important, any signs of labor statistics cooling could be optimistic for the markets. But again, PMI coming out slightly better than expected, but despite that, dollar dropping. And I think JOLTS may have been the more surprising difference. So yeah, because 0.5 difference on PMI, that is a beat on PMIs, but perhaps jobs cooling while PMI numbers holding in there. Okay, it seems like the market likes it. S&P up again, gold finding a bit of a bounce. 2022 coming in now. Euro.
I still don't think it's a good sign. This initial reaction is always weird, but I don't think higher PMI is what we want to see.
Yeah, and it's how much of a beat is that, Frank? We have 52.7 compared to 52.2. Previous was 51.8. So definitely some expansion in the services section for the PMI number.
What matters though is if we see higher PMI, then we see more jobs added. Like if NFP comes in hotter than expected, but inflation like CPI and core continue to fall, that's a good sign, because that's expansion with disinflation. But
it's a good point.
If we continue to see like more involvement in the economy, like there's more money going through it and more jobs, more spending from consumers, and businesses, and then it ticks up inflation. That's where we have our problem. So any indication that there's going to be higher inflation, I think, is not a good sign. But yeah,
Sure.
for at least gold anyways, I don't think that's very great news.
Okay, fair enough. And Tom, will get you in on it as well. Anything catching your eye off of the move there? We did actually get a bit of a spike across dollar pairs. What are you watching?
Yeah, so just keeping an eye on the dollar pairs and see if this move upward is sustained, you know, to see if we get a break. I'm actually in a trade. I'm in Swiss franc Japanese yen.
Okay.
And we were seeing an ascending triangle with Swiss franc Japanese yen. So you can, you know, just basically see this ascending triangle here. And we were just trying to take it to the top of this triangle. So I'm still in this trade. So I was keeping an eye on this. So we was in an ascending triangle. We had a nice bullish push off of these lows and this trend line as well. Excuse my drawing today. I don't know what's wrong with it. And we had a nice push away from that level earlier on. So we entered on this H4 candle earlier. And the idea is to take it back up to here. Stop is down here. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But you know, I'm liking the look of the ascending triangle. I think potentially we have some room up to here. And this is what I want to see. I want to see a wicks forming at the bottom here. If we drop down to the H1, yeah, we'll see. You know, it's testing these lows, but I just want to see wicks now. I want to see big wicks bouncing off this level with a view to taking it up to here. So that's they've been tricky markets, to be honest, guys, recently. It's been difficult to find trades and pick things out. And I keep saying this to all my viewers. It's been very tricky markets. They sort of, like euro pairs were super, the euro was super weak, but we just can't get in on it because it's so oversold. And it's just been, very tricky markets at the moment. Or you're in an uptrend like gold, but you're at a weekly resistance level. There's lots of this keep happening in the markets, and it's just tricky. So this was the only trade I could find today. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting here too about the news that we've gotten is I was trying to look in a little closer, Frank, to gold here, because I would have expected that this would have actually put negative pressure on gold, right? The 52.7, a hotter economy. We know kind of gold 101 is that cooling economy, generally speaking, is good for gold. Any sort of disinflationary stuff is good for gold, but perhaps the number is the JOLTS causing a little bit more of a reaction here. But it's interesting to watch gold. I mentioned earlier the two scenarios for me with gold would either be a sign of life in this, as much as we've had these ugly candles here to the downside. If we see some signs of life, if green comes back into this chart, I may re-look at taking a position, or if we just get a deeper kind of sell-off, perhaps a pullback to that 2000 level. But Frank, do you think do you feel the same way? Like PMI numbers should have possibly had a little bit more negative impact on gold, and perhaps maybe it's a delayed effect?
Yeah, I do. I don't really like looking at the initial reaction anyways, unless I feel like it lines up with how I think it should react. So the fact that gold went one way or the opposite of where I wanted to, I don't really think is a confirmation that it's going to keep going higher. Well, this is the Dow, but I was just, if we wanted to, I was going to talk about indices some too.
Yeah, please.
So the Dow was like the best out of the three indices in the US in terms of upside. So this is what we're seeing now. Is yesterday's candle was definitely some exhaustion here on the buy side. Today we're seeing some sell-off. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I feel like this is something to watch out for. On the index that's run up the most, this could be also another potential pullback here, just because of how this looks. And it's it's gotten overextended here on the buy side. So, you know, maybe time for a little bit of a pullback too. But yeah, PMI should, PMI is, I guess, a little tricky for indices, but that is good economic data. So it could be a booster for it, but it's also looking at the Fed. It's like a balancing act. What do you think the Fed will think about this?
Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want our broker recommendation, access to our free Discord, free Edge Finder, or want to chat with us on Telegram. Remember, you can watch us live in the markets every morning starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have lots more free trading tools and content available on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching.